High up in the rainforest canopy, a massive, highly organized biological operation is underway. A single colony of leafcutter ants can mobilize millions of workers, swarming across the foliage in a rapid, aggressive harvest. Using mandibles that vibrate continuously, they slice through the exterior defenses of the vegetation with the precision of a power tool. Against an assault of this magnitude, the targeted plant appears to be a passive victim, forced to endure the rapid defoliation of its branches. To the naked eye, the ants have already won, but the plant is already preparing a response that targets the colony's hidden weakness. Suddenly, the harvesting stops. The worker ants abandon the branches and march away across the forest floor. They aren't leaving because the resource is depleted. They are marching past thousands of healthy, easily accessible leaves to seek out different trees. This sudden retreat is driven by a hidden defensive mechanism. Somewhere in the chemistry of the leaf, the plant has introduced a factor that forces the ants to search for a more viable resource. To see how a stationary plant fights back, we have to follow those severed leaf fragments down into the subterranean network of the colony. The ants carrying these heavy loads cannot actually digest the foliage. Instead, they chew the plant material into a wet paste, using it as raw agricultural compost. The ants are cultivating a highly specialized organism that relies on them for survival, a fungus known as Leucoagaricus gongoliferus. The fungus digests the toxic plant matter and, in return, sprouts tiny, nutrient-rich structures called gongolidia. These white clusters serve as the actual food supply for the millions of ants above. The swarms of the Canthocate are dependent on this delicate subterranean garden. The colony's agricultural infrastructure is their greatest vulnerability. Up on the surface, the heavily damaged plant begins to react to the physical trauma of the harvest. The plant actively floods its remaining leaves with chemical substances called secondary metabolites, specifically compounds like tannins and terpenoids. For the hard-shelled worker ants slicing through the stems, these internal chemical changes do nothing. The workers continue to gather the material and carry it underground. But the true target of this defense is the crop itself. When the chemically loaded leaves are chewed up and applied to the garden, the metabolites act as a targeted poison, killing the exact fungal network the ants need to survive. The plant's defense targets the colony's food supply directly, bypassing the ants to sabotage their agricultural infrastructure. Down in the nest, the ants constantly monitor the yield and health of their vital crops. As soon as the workers detect that the newly delivered leaves are poisoning their food source, they halt the operation. The colony severs its supply lines to the defending plant. They redirect their marching routes across the forest floor, seeking out a new tree with lower chemical defenses. By internally altering its own chemistry, a stationary organism successfully repels millions of attackers without ever striking a physical blow. This ecosystem operates like a sensitive supply chain. The plant is the raw material supplier, the ant is the processor, and the fungus manufactures the final product. A chemical spike at the supplier forces a halt in processing, causing the network to sever ties and reroute. This interaction is a continuous ecological cycle of adaptation. The rainforest canopy is a massive, interconnected network of biochemical espionage, where survival depends on staying one step ahead of organisms living beneath the soil.